This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone. Now we will discuss the concept of n-dimensional arrays. See, at the place of n, you can put 1. That means one-dimensional array. That's what you see here. That's what you see here. Now put 2 here, you get two-dimensional array. This is a two-dimensional array. And when you put 3 here, you will get three-dimensional array. This is a three-dimensional array. Now you can even think of higher dimensional arrays, right? In Python, this concept is an important one. This concept, which concept? N-dimensional arrays, especially when you deal with huge data sets and images. N-dimensional arrays are going to be very helpful. They are the values that you place in n-dimensional arrays are very fastly processed, accessed, stored, and retrieved. Okay, now let us start with this code. Now, this is nothing but a list, whenever you set a collection of values, 3 values or 5 values, 7 values, within square brackets, you mean a list. Now, you pass a list as an argument for this function. This function converts this list, this function converts this list into an n-dimensional array. They call it as ND array, n-dimensional array, ND array. It is defined in the NumPy package, NumPy library. Okay, and then you print it. Now here you talk about, you will execute this code within 3 minutes. Now we will have a look at the two-dimensional array. This one is known as one-dimensional array, only one row. Here, this is the first row, this is the second row, right? Whenever you have two rows, you think of a matrix, first row, second row, right? And then you talk about n-dimensional, two-dimensional array. Now you can give any name for this array. Here we are given the name X, here we are giving the name array 2D. And then what do they mean by shape? They mean the shape of the array. In other words, the number of rows and number of columns. In this case, they will give the value. There are two rows. This is totally treated as the first row, this is treated as the second row. And there are three columns, right? So when you execute this command, you will get 2 and 3 as the output. What about this one? What about this one? See, here, this is known as the zeroth row. In real life, we call it as first row and we call it as second row. But in the programming field, this one is known as zeroth row and this one is known as the first row. So when you say 1, you mean this row. Now you restrict your attention to this one. Now in this row, you talk about the second column. In this row, this is the zeroth column, this is the first column, this is the second column. So you will get 6 as the output when you execute this line. We will see the explanation once again at the time of execution. Now, what about this line? Now, here we talk about the zeroth row. In this data structure, this is the zeroth row. So now we are concerned only with this portion of the data set. We will not worry about this data set. Zeroth row means we are concerned only with this one. Now, in this row, they talk about the column 0 and 1. Say, I told you earlier, if you write 2 here, you should go only up to 1. If you write 3 here, you should go up to 2. So now you should start with 0, you should go up to 1. So this is the 0th element. This is the first element. So you will get 1 and 2 as the output. What about the last line of code? 0th row. That means this is the 0th row, right? And all columns, if you don't write anything before or after column, that means you have to consider all columns. So 1, 2, 3 will be the output. Now we have an idea about the one-dimensional array and two-dimensional array. Now this is the last concept that we see. Three-dimensional arrays. You can also think about four-dimensional arrays and all, but in reality, three-dimensional arrays are often used. Now, what do you mean by this, right? The whole data structure starts here. So starting from the second square bracket, right? You talk about the zeroth dimension. So the second square bracket, where does it end? Ends here. You see, third square bracket ends here. Another third square bracket ends here. So starting from the second square bracket up to this is the zeroth element of zeroth dimension. Zeroth element of zeroth dimension. Now we restrict ourselves to this entry. So once you write 0, you don't worry about anything else. You see, you restrict yourself to zeroth element. Your zeroth element starting from here and ending here. Right, zeroth element in the zeroth dimension. And when you write 0 here the see, we restrict ourselves to this portion of the data set. Now we will worry only about this part. See this, right, zeroth row, this is the first row. When you write 0, you are now concerned with only this portion of the data. And then when you write one more 0, you mean this one, 0th position, value in the 0th position. So you will get 1 as the output. We will once again see the explanation at the time of execution. When you write 1, what happens? When you write 0 here, you restrict yourself to this entry, right? This portion of the data set. When you write 1 here, you will think about this 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Now when you write 0 here, you will be concerned with only 7, 8, 9. And when you write 2 here, the 0th entry, first entry, second entry, so you will get 9 as the output. What about this one? I told you, when you write 0 here, you are concerned with this portion of the data set. When you write 1 here, you are concerned with this data set, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now when you write colon, nothing else here, and then you mean all values in the first dimension, all values in the second dimension. That means you will get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 as the output. Now let us execute, and then everything will become pretty clear. Now I already typed the code. I will copy and then go over to Colab, right? I will paste it over here, Now I will execute the code in stages. Now what about this? I am defining a one-dimensional array. And then I ask the computer to display the same. Now I will get 1, 2, 3 as output. Now it is pretty clear. Let me move over to this, right, two-dimensional array. Now I will consider only two-dimensional array. I will execute the remaining part of the code after some time. Now what does this one, right? Let me execute, and then I will be able to explain in a better way. See, this is displayed in the first row, right? And this is displayed in the second row. It looks like a matrix, it looks like a matrix that you study in mathematics, first row. In mathematics we call it as first row and second row. In programming field we call it as 0th row and first row. Now when you ask, say, what is the shape, they will say there are 2 rows, 3 columns. Agree. When you say 1, see, this is 0th row, this is first row. When you say 1, you talk about this row. And when you say 2, what does it mean? 0th column, first column, second column. So that is why I say that 6 will be shown as the output. 6 will be shown as the output. Now let us execute one by one, right? Now when I execute shape, what will I get? I will get 2 rows, 3 columns. 2 rows, 3 columns as the output. 2 rows, 3 columns. In the case of a very simple example like this, you can very easily say, but in the case of a very big example, right, you may not be able to count. Now what will happen? When I write this? You tell me. When I say 1, this is I have told you, this is the 0th row and this is the first row. This is the first row. I talk about the first row, correct? And then in the first row, what value do you have in the position 2? 0th position, first position, second position. So you are supposed to get 6 as the answer. Yes, you get 6 as the answer. Now let us execute the remaining code. Right? We will cut it off for the time being. Now what will you get? This is a 0th entry. Correct? And you say 0th column and first column. So you will get 1 and 2 as the answer. Yes. So all these notations are very important. See, they will be needed when you want to explain the programs that I am going to explain later on. 0th entry, this is the 0th row, and everything means all the values in the 0th row. 1, 2, 3 will be the output. Now we have very good idea about one-dimensional arrays and two-dimensional arrays. Now we also had an idea about one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, three-dimensional array. So please remember, what is n-dimensional array? Right? So it can be a one-dimensional array like this, or two-dimensional array, or three-dimensional array. All these notations, how do you retrieve the values? That is really very important. Thank you.